Ewoks.
Yeah, Ewoks.
Ewok and roll. That's the kind of music they listen to. That's a good joke, isn't it?
That's a great joke.
Yeah. Warwick Davies. Ewoks. You don't want to laugh at that, but you are. Right. What do you know about Ewoks?
They come from...
Stop touching that.
They live on the moon of Endor.
Yeah, you learned that the other day, didn't you?
No, I already knew that. I'd seen Caravan of Courage and Battle for Endor before. Mr. Biffo hadn't.
Yeah,
so
get this.
Just saying.
She'd seen them before I did.
As a true Star Wars fan, had already seen those films
watched the prequels properly.
I have now.
I bet you don't even know Walrus Man's real name.
I don't.
You don't even know
Who's
who Walrus Man
Man?
is. Exactly. Unbelievable. So we watched 1.5 of the Ewok films.
Oh yeah, we never finished Battle for Endor.
No, we watched because they're up on Disney Plus now.
That's why I was thinking about it yesterday. I'm like, it's called Battle for Endor, but I don't remember a battle in it.
Yeah. I started to feel a little bit saccharined out.
I was enjoying it. They're great films.
Okay, we're going to give you our little review of them shortly. Now you know Sanja's opinion. She doesn't need to give one while I'm having a rant.
Now you know Paul's opinion. He doesn't have to rant while he's giving a rant.
I might be having a rant about the cinematography or something.
Or the grading or something.
So, Ewoks. I just want to do another Ewok pun, but I'm not going to.
No, please do.
No, I hadn't thought of one.
What kind of Star Wars character is very futuristic and space age? An Ewok.
Huh?
Ewok, like, like email,
hyphenated.
Yeah.
Wow. Don't go up the day job. So, Ewoks, their origin dated back to the original Star Wars.
Pre the original Star Wars.
Yeah, because apparently George Lucas's original plan, when he was thinking about Star Wars having... By the way, if you can hear drilling sound in the background, there's some out there drilling.
They're just doing their job. One day
we're doing our job.
One day
This isn't my only job, by the way, for all of you all of you, like the wank on Twitter the other way, who went, get the proper job, how tragic.
Someone said that.
Yeah,
you
I had someone.
Tell me that.
I can't, I guess things like that all the time. I don't care most of the time.
Oh.
Except when they have to come up in, they come up in conversation. Yeah, because I plugged our Patreon unboxing. And someone said, people paying you to watch you unbox things you own now. Get a job. Well, I got one.
That's I love unboxings. So
if you want to watch our unboxing of a Disney fan club box, go check out our Patreon.
But this is really sad. This is how I realised how low I have sunk in lockdown. I was on TikTok the other day, and one of my favourite TikTokers was just showing us what he'd bought at B&M Bargains, and it was literally like a new flavour of Febreze, some plastic pineapple glasses, and I just thought it was like the best TikTok ever.
Probably better than what
I was like, yeah, show me more.
Probably better than what we do. Be more popular, wouldn't it? I bet it's more popular than what we do.
Well, he is very popular.
There we go.
He's the one that does his mum... I don't care, Matthew.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah,
I can't remember his name, but because I don't look at their names, but yeah, he's really funny.
Yeah. We'd probably be way more popular if I put in less effort.
Oh. We can do like a really low effort video one day and see how it goes.
You mean we don't already? I was thinking of putting even less effort in. So, Ewoks. George Lucas's original idea was, many of you know this already, I appreciate that, I'm telling her.
The true Star Wars fan in this situation.
Because one of his, themes was like underdogs taking on like a big empire.
Right.
So, because he was quite heavily influenced by the Vietnam War, where,
America's
technological might was taken on by the Viet Cong.
And they lost.
That's correct, yes. So he was inspired by that. So one of his original ideas was the part of the final episode in the trilogy. I'm assuming, I have read these quotes from George Lucas, but I don't know how. Wait.
Oh, hang on.
I don't know. No.
Still...
No. No. But I don't know how fully formed the ideas were. I was literally mid-sentence.
I can't process anything you're going to say because I am still taking in and processing the fact that he had been inspired by the Vietnam War and the Viet Cong. And it's like, wow, of course.
Yes.
I need a moment for that to sink in. That's really cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you may not the prequels. But really...
Well, I do.
Well, yeah, we all know the prequels are weird. Talking of weird, we shall get to our review in a minute of Caravan of Courage. But what's that film about? It's about how democracy can be undermined and used for evil ends.
Democracy?
Yeah.
Were they voted in?
Yeah, the Emperor was voted in.
I swear, wow. I've learned 2 things today about Star Wars.
We can say all sorts about the prequels, but actually the message there is about how power can be used.
I guess if you can manipulate the opinions of the populace, you can can even democratic.
Well, there's the classic line in Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
So this is how
hashtag on topic. So
this is how democracy dies to the sound of rapturous applause.
Which film was that from?
Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, really?
Oh, you need to watch them again, don't you?
I do.
Guess what we're doing this weekend. So his idea was that the 3rd episode would be set on Chewbacca's home planet and the Wookiees would take on the Empire. Now, over the course of Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back, he realised that the Wookiees were shown through Chewbacca as being too technologically advanced. He knew how to fly a spaceship and fix a spaceship and blah blah blah. So he said, let's come up with some new people, some new space people, and we'll just shrink them in half and we'll call them Ewoks. Interestingly, according to my notes, there was a tribe, the Redwood Forest, where they shot the Endor, Moon of Endor scenes. Scenes. Apparently there was a Native American tribe from the area called the Ewoks.
Are you for real?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's where the name comes from.
Well, that, and it sounds a bit like Wookiee, or it's Wookiee kind of messed about with. So they were based. The design was based on, I can't even pronounce it, a dog breed which George Lucas owned, the Griffon. Yeah, I can't say that either.
Bruxellois?
So, I think history has slightly altered people's perceptions of the Ewoks because, with Jar Binks, and I remember, when Lucas has responded to some of the criticism of Jar Binks, he sort of says, oh, no one liked the droids or the Ewoks.
He said no one liked the droids or...
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I've got issues with that statement.
Well, yeah.
I have issues with that statement.
Well, so do I, because it's patently not true. I don't think anyone at the time criticised R2-D2 and C-3PO. And in fact, I think
we loved them.
I think the vast majority of people would attribute part of the film's success to putting those two front and centre.
Yeah, we loved them, and we loved the Ewoks.
Yeah.
Remember, if anyone watched our video about Action Man, you may remember I mentioned my cousin who had everything in it.
Oh, God. Yes.
Guess who had some Ewok figurines?
As a 12-year-old, I loved the Ewoks.
I loved the Ewoks. They were I loved the Ewoks more than the actual main characters.
And I don't believe there was a kid that didn't.
No.
Because aside from anything else, yes, they kind of look cute, but they weren't, and that was what was brilliant about them. They were flesh eaters. They were going to eat the main heroes of the film.
They had a wide mix of personalities as well.
Did they?
I think so.
I think they kind of just had one personality that was shared between all of them.
No, that's not true. They didn't have a hive mind.
I don't think we really got to know any of them apart from Wicket.
Well, Wicket,
So to
and
say-
there was the medicine one.
Yeah, Logray. And Chief Chirper.
Which I have to say, coming back to the little figurines on eBay, he's a creepy looking figurine.
They look,
Oh my
they
goodness.
look fierce.
Yeah.
And when one of them, I think it was Paplou, stole the speeder bike, and kind of went off. That was cool as a kid. So, so I don't hold to George Lucas's opinion. Of this. But what I will say is I also can't really realistically judge Jar Jar Binks because
we weren't at that age.
I know my kids. My youngest two loved Jar Jar Binks. They did.
Do you know? I wish I'd asked my brother. Back in the day, but I was so in shock after watching the prequels. I just thought there was something wrong with me for not liking them. I didn't realise other people didn't like them. That I didn't even think to say to him, "Did you find that character annoying or did you like him?" I kind of just stepped away and didn't want to deal with the prequels at all.
The biggest issue with Jar Jar Binks is there's way too much of him in that first film. Way too much. And, yes, they were wise to kind of trim him down. But Jar Jar Binks is far from the biggest issue with the Phantom Menace and certainly Attack of the Clones.
True.
But he gets most of the grief. Poor old Ahmed Best, who played him.
Yeah, I feel bad for him because it's not his fault.
No, to be honest, I don't even find Jar Jar Binks that annoying. I think they gave him too much of the story, and the issues with that. I think the character would be fine in a different story. I don't think. Windy Pops. I don't think he's really the issue. It's more about structure.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think it's.
So you think if it had been edited differently,
not just edited,
Jar Jar
the
would have had more of a chance with the viewers?
Yeah, and I think it was at the time. It was lots of fanboys who kind of thought my Star Wars is different to this, but
maybe they would have thought that anyway.
But
not just because of Jar Jar.
of the issue, I think, with Jar Jar, we're getting way off topic here.
I know.
So this is a very different sort of video to what we normally do. I appreciate. The biggest issue with Jar Jar is okay. I think there was a layer with R2D2 and C3PO and the Ewoks. No, not the Ewoks, but R2D2 and C3PO. There was certainly a layer of irony. You had with C3PO a robot who was effectively a coward. Which undermines what we kind of think as robots are. A whiny coward. And so that was funny. There's nothing really actually funny about Jar Jar Binks to an adult, but kids love his slapstick. So the Ewoks, again, what you had there were, they looked like lovable teddy bears, but were actually flesh-eating monsters. So it
was that unexpected twist.
Jar Jar Binks had nothing other than he looked stupid and acted stupid.
Yeah, so you're saying that if he'd had an extra layer to him, something a little bit more unexpected in his character, that maybe he would have been
likewise
more
Yoda.
accepted
Yoda,
by
when
adults.
you first meet Yoda, comes across like, I'm a man.
I was obsessed with Yoda as a kid.
and then later on, he shows as that darkness that you will be.
That's a bit creepy.
Yeah, it was really creepy, but you sort of saw this darkness in him, that these layers, and Jar Jar Binks didn't have any of that. He was literally, ironically, for one of the first sort of 3D computer graphics characters, it's like completely two-dimensional.
Interesting. I mean, I think all the best characters in any show or book or whatever are layered. They're not all good or all bad, and they have varied qualities.
I wasn't interrupting you. I was literally coughing.
Don't go there.
But what is interesting with Jar Jar Binks, and ties back into what we were talking about, and the Gungans, his people.
Yes.
You're people gonna die?
Very good.
Yeah. What is that? It ties back into the same thing as the Ewoks, which is a supposedly simpler, less technologically advanced species taking on a big technological army. Even though the Gungans had those glowing ball things and giant dinosaurs. Do you remember them? No. You really need to watch them.
I might
again.
have slept through that bit. I have a vague memory of them swimming underwater, but I don't know if that was in one of the prequels or if that was in an animated.
Yeah, they did swim underwater. They lived underwater.
wasn't paying attention.
Oh no. Why have we started talking about the prequels? Because I want to rant about them now.
No, go on, do it. Go, rant.
Another thing, right, about that's wrong with the Phantom Menace.
I wish this was tea.
Which I don't.
Mr. Biffo spills the tea on the prequels.
Which I haven't really heard about before, right? So the battles are won by. Okay, you've got Obi-Wan Kenobi cutting Darth Maul in half.
Right.
I've got issues with that fight because it's two super powerful Jedis versus one super powerful Sith. So the good guys outnumber the bad. Shouldn't be like that. They should be faced with an overwhelming force. I don't know why they did that.
Yeah, that's an interesting choice.
That's always bothered me. Even at the time. That was when I came out and I was trying to convince myself that I enjoyed it. That was one of the biggest things.
Same as me. I didn't know other people were going through the same thing.
That was one of the biggest things that niggled at me. Was because it was like... But I didn't feel any sense of threat at any point in that fight because there's two of them versus, he looks like the devil, and he's got a double-bladed lightsaber. That doesn't...
And he was skilled.
Yeah, but we haven't seen that he's more powerful than two of them.
Right.
That fight, because the prequel lightsaber fights are so basically like dances. We're not getting any sense of him kicking their butts at any point, other than the point at which he suddenly stabs Qui-Gon Jinn. Whereas, the classic lightsaber fight in Empire Strikes Back, when Luke's getting the absolute living shit kicked out of him. You're like,
really
my
feel
God.
the tension and the risk.
But anyway, my other point is that the two other battles that are going on, they've got this kind of three-way battle thing happening. Very similar structure to Return of the Jedi, where you had the end battle was split over three different fronts. Is you have the day being saved by Anakin Skywalker by accident, who accidentally blows up the ship.
What issue do you have with that?
Well, the issue is he did it accidentally. When Luke blew up the Death Star, he did it through using his skill and his force powers. Anakin Skywalker was like, oh, what does this do? Beep, beep, beep. Oh, some missiles will come out. Oh, spinning's a good trick. He doesn't actually do anything. The ship is on autopilot. Then he accidentally flies it into the hangar bay of the droid control ship.
Why do you have an issue with it being an accident?
Because you're not showing that this character is anything special. He appears to be like an idiot kid who's just gone, buttons. Right, whereas Luke, it's a hero moment when he saves the Death, or blows up the Death Star and saves the day. When Anakin Skywalker does it, it's not a hero moment because it's all out of the kid's control, right? And the exact same thing happens with Jar Binks, right? He has moments where he saves the day on the ground, but it's not because he's doing anything heroic. He's doing it because he's like dropped a ball thing that kind of blows up a tank, and he's going and knocks into someone, and they kind of accidentally shoot someone else. He doesn't do anything kind of heroic. He's just an idiot who accidentally saves the day. And the same thing with Anakin Skywalker.
Well, and I get it in the case of Jar Binks. I get why they would have made that choice. What do you think was their reasoning for making that choice with Anakin?
It's George Lucas.
Because they would have done it for a reason. You don't think there was you don't think it was specifically written as an accident?
Right, this brings us again back on track, right? George Lucas, undeniably a visionary. Undeniably. Star Wars, as many of you will know, is like my favourite thing. It's my thing. However, throughout everything Star Wars that George Lucas had an involvement in, there's some weird stuff. Yeah, and we're talking about...
We're not just talking about the tax scene.
But, the prequels is when it's writ large. When we sort of see evidence of George Lucas let off the leash and just allowed to kind of be himself, and it's fucking weird. Right? So, for instance, okay, you've got to bear in mind he only directed one Star Wars film before the prequels.
Right.
He didn't direct Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi. No, he was quite heavily involved, and some people sort of say...
Wait, hang on, he directed just Star Wars?
Yeah.
And that was really good.
Yes. Yeah, but he also had producer and studio breathing down his neck. Now, on Empire Strikes Back, he took a step back. Irving Kershner, who was the director of Empire Strikes Back, I think was quite no, I'm doing it this way. I think George Lucas found it a bit more difficult. I mean, as well, with those 3 films, he had co-writers as well. The prequels, he just wrote pretty much himself.
All alone.
Yeah. Now, for instance, already in that original trilogy, you've got in Return of the Jedi, Leia being Luke's sister. Now,
awkward.
They'd had a snog in the previous film. Luke had clearly been in love with her in the first film. Now, we've all kind of forgiven that and kind of gone...
That's one of the quirks of the series.
But it's bloody weird. It's weird, right?
Yeah.
It's weird. Okay, and then you have the prequels.
You kind of go, knowing that had happened in the previous film, couldn't they have, written that differently?
Yeah, avoided that. We get that he was just winging it and kind of there is another, and he had to find that other from somewhere and decided to make it Leia. But they had a proper, it wasn't a brother-sister kiss. She kissed him in the first film on the lips, and then in Empire Strikes Back, it was a proper, it was like a sex kiss. Right, that was... and Luke is also in hand to the
They
first...
kissed twice.
Yeah, she kisses him for luck.
Kiss
for luck.
Oh,
before they swing over the chasm. But, it's here's your reward for saving me. And then, Luke is after that with Han, is so what do you think about that, Han?
No,
and then, it's my sister.
That's
I know,
awkward.
somehow I've always known. So why did you kiss him when he was in hospital?
Oh, somehow I've always known.
Yeah. At the time, we all went, yeah. And then afterwards, when we came out of the cinema, it's but didn't they kiss in the last film?
Oh, that's awkward.
Yeah. That would be a Netflix documentary now.
Oh, yeah.
It would totally be a Netflix documentary. That story point came from George Lucas.
Right.
Where he decided, no, I'll make them brother. Yeah, I'll make them brother and sister.
And no one went, George, are you sure you want to go ahead with that story?
I'll forget. It's not like they can watch this any time, whenever they want, and watch it 100 times or anything like that. This was not the first evidence, and certainly the prequels were not the first evidence of George Lucas signing off on weird creative decisions.
What were some other examples?
Well, we all know about the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Oh, yeah.
If you've ever seen it, it's not normal. It's not...
That's part of its charm, though.
Look, it's got a cult following.
But I thought he doesn't like it.
He's embarrassed by it.
He's embarrassed by
I know.
it.
All right, admittedly, that was taken out of his hands.
Right.
He okayed it in the first place. But it was, he didn't have a lot to do with it.
So we can't really blame that on him.
No. And at least one part of it was good enough that that's also now on Disney Plus, which is the animated Boba Fett section.
Oh, right.
First Star Wars cartoon. They just snipped out that bit and put it on there with the Ewok films. But you can also see this evidence in the Ewok movies, which were much more directly came from his head. It was him that he decided he wanted to...
Yeah, there were some interesting choices of happenings in those films.
Interesting choices of happenings.
Well, how would you say that? There were
choices.
There were some interesting creative choices in those films.
So Lucas basically, he wanted to have another crack at TV. And this time he wanted to make sure that he had some control over the quality of it, right? So he pitched a half-hour Ewoks special, because Ewoks, 1983, 84 were everywhere. Which is why a lot of people have kind of gone, he only put them in the film to sell toys. I think arguably they only put Porgs in The Last Jedi to sell Porg toys.
Which I'm not complaining about, because they're adorable.
There we go.
We don't have a Porg toy,
we have a Porg mug. We have a Porg Tiki mug.
We have a Porg Tiki mug, which is really cute.
So, that's why, because they were very marketable. You could sell Ewok teddy bears. And, as they later did, Ewoks got their own animated TV series, which was show run by Paul Dini, who later did Batman the Animated Series. And It was awful. I watched some.
Was it? I don't remember.
Bad. I watched some the other day. It was bad.
I must have watched some of that.
Well, it was released as part of a double hour in America with Droids, which was marginally better because Droids felt a bit more Star Warsy.
I don't think I watched Droids, but Ewoks does sound familiar.
Droids as well was part written by Ben Burtt, who was the sound engineer on all the Star Wars films. Who did, he came up with the lightsaber sounds and R2-D2's bleeps and TIE Fighter.
How cool would that be to be the person that came up with those sounds?
And then he went on to kind of be partly in charge of the Droids animated series, which is bizarre. But anyway, with the first one, it was ABC said to George Lucas, no, we don't want a half hour, but we would have a Ewoks film as a movie of the week, which they apparently ran then. So they put together this very low budget thing, which was called, I don't think it was only called Caravan of Courage when it had a limited theatrical release overseas, because I remember it being released in cinemas here. And it only got called the Caravan of Courage then. I think in America it was called something like the Ewok movie. I've got it written down somewhere.
Interesting.
And it was only on later releases, like on VHS, that they used the Caravan of Courage title.
I don't remember it being in the cinema, or I didn't go and see it in the cinema at least. I watched it on TV as a kid, and it was called Caravan of Courage in Australia.
Yeah.
So we were with you on that one.
So here's an example, right? So we'll go through some of these examples, right? So this is before you even get to what's actually in the film. Okay. George Lucas co-wrote the story. He didn't write the screenplay. He wrote the story, and he co-wrote the story with the nanny of his children. I mean,
are you saying nannies can't write stories?
Okay, so you've got the biggest film franchise.
The nanny might have had the best imagination on the planet.
You've got the biggest...
But just so happened to be working as a nanny. What are you saying?
The biggest film franchise of all time, right? You've got the first spin-off from it, the first proper spin-off from it. So you decide to co-write it with the nanny of your children. A guy called Bob Corral.
The nanny...
Who I can't find any other evidence of him writing anything else.
The nanny must have had talent.
It's a weird choice.
Well, I'm sorry if it doesn't fit in your ladder to success theory.
The idea behind the film, which was clearly very much aimed at children,
right,
was a mix of... They wanted to make something that was a bit like a cross between Hansel and Gretel, I shit thee not, and Tarzan.
Shit thee not.
Yeah.
Hansel and Gretel and Tarzan. Yeah, I can see that. I can see how that vibe in there.
It was directed by a guy called John Corty.
Right.
And they shot it very obviously not in the same location as the Return of the Jedi scenes.
And that bothered you greatly as we were rewatching it this
weekend. It was shot in Marin County, basically 5 miles from Skywalker Ranch, or where Lucasfilm was based.
Yes, that bothered you a lot, didn't it?
Well, it clearly looked like they were just wandering around wine country.
Well,
it was like any second they were going to stumble upon a vineyard.
They've got to work within the budget that they've been given.
Bother me.
It didn't bother me. I thought it was Endor-like enough.
We have filmed more exotic looking forest footage up the road.
It did look like it could be in our disco woods.
So it's shot for 8 weeks, structured around the kids' schooling. Neither of the main children, of course, have really had much of a career as acting since. And the boy, I can't remember his name now.
He was barely in the second film.
Okay, can we stop talking about the second film? Stop talking about the second film. The boy now apparently produces like ambient music. We haven't listened to it yet. We were going to.
But one of his albums is called Tangier Dream.
Yeah, so Lucas apparently visited the set 3 times a week, reshot some footage, and was involved quite hands-on with the editing. The production design was done by Joe Johnson, who is quite a famous production designer, and I think he directed the first Captain America film as well. But The Rocketeer. But it's weird then that so much of the production design looks awful.
What don't you like about it?
Okay, firstly, look, I know they're a low budget, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, give them a break.
But it's very brightly lit for a start, so you can see how cheap the Ewok costumes look like. Also, I'd forgotten,
So you would have liked to have it dark, like, the Dark Knight version of the Ewok movie, where everything's kind of in shadows.
No, I don't want it dark like that. But decent cinematography, or at least make it a bit less flat looking. Right. And you could hide the fact that clearly some of those Ewoks,
This was a show for kids.
Also, the Ewoks, I can see why in the special editions Lucas went back and added eyelids, blinking eyelids on the Ewoks. Because
they didn't have eyelids.
No, they never blinked. And and consequently the Ewoks in this just look terrifying. They're terrifying.
They did look scary. And their teeth.
Oh.
You don't want to get too close to them.
I don't know if they look less realistic, but also scarier somehow.
Yeah, they were
in a film that was meant to be all cute.
A bit creepy.
So the film itself, it's got this voiceover by apparently the same guy that did the classic stop motion Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which was a bit of an American holiday staple. And it's what happens is, so these kids, their parents get chased away by a giant. Mm-hmm. I think the Endor is called, or the moon of Endor, sorry, is called an enchanted forest at the start. Enchanted. So you have things like giants in it and fairies, these fairy things, didn't you? Like there's Tinkerbells basically in it. And it's essentially it's a journey. The kids go to rescue there. They look into a magic crystal thing that the Ewoks happen to have, and see that their parents have now been captured by the giant, and so they go to the forbidden fortress of the giant, the Gorax, I think it's called, to go and rescue their parents. That's it. So they travel across the moon of Endor, picking up in Wizard of Oz style a couple of other Ewoks along the way. There's one that's like a kind of your action hero Ewok, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whose name was something like Taint or something like that.
No, I think didn't you call him Taint?
Yeah.
You called him. No, Paul. You called him Taint.
Well, because I looked up what his name was, and it was something like Taint, so he became known as Taint.
It wasn't known as. I don't think it was. I think. Tainted Ewok.
Yeah. So and that's it basically. It's very simple. But I don't even know where to begin, really.
Well, what's your issue with it? I know one of your issues was that there were
the animals,
right, goats,
horses,
llamas, alpacas,
ponies, alpacas, rabbits, chickens. What is it? I mean, you've got. I just didn't understand. Right, what he was trying to do with this. Okay, there was no attempt from him, Lucas we're talking about here, to protect the brand. Star Wars, those first three films have such integrity to them, and yet here there's a carelessness about it. It's just like do what you want. I don't care. I moved on. These films were clearly the template for Willow.
I haven't seen Willow yet.
They're doing a Willow series on Disney Plus by all accounts. Particularly the second one is very reminiscent of Willow.
Right. The second one, which we haven't finished watching.
I think we've watched enough to talk about it.
Yes, we have, for sure.
We have.
I mean, tell me what else you had. So you had an issue with the animals. You had an issue with the location.
Okay, let's talk about the boy. Like the main boy, Mace, a name that would later be reused. Who literally has one look. They're kids, okay? We shouldn't criticise them, but
he's going to.
But I'm going to, because clearly Lucas was involved with the casting, as he was with Anakin Skywalker in The Phantom Menace.
It might not just be the casting. It might have been how the boy was directed to act.
Whatever.
Which is my personal theory.
Whatever. So the boy is just constantly angry
the whole way through. He's got such an attitude.
Just constantly angry, frowning.
But I reckon he was told to be like that.
Well, maybe, but he, there's no light and shade there. There's nothing other than just like searing rage. He hates the Ewoks. He hates the horses. He hates rocks.
Oh yeah, he hates rocks.
He was
Don't give him a rock to look after.
No, stupid rock. Just a stupid rock. I'm not going on the pony. I'm gonna walk. Right. So you had that. So he's your main one of your two.
But then when he starts walking, he's really happy, and so there were like
just weird all over the place performance, right? Which Lucas, supposedly involved in the edit, probably had some other, some other different takes, because that's generally what you do. Okay, let's do another take, but don't do it like you're livid. Do a take where you're not livid, but every take was livid.
No, but to me, as an observer, it seemed like someone told him, do another take, but be more livid.
Yeah, more livid.
More anger, please.
Yeah. Faster and more
Throw
intense.
That rock away with more vitriol.
Now, the girl in it is very cute, but that's literally all there is. You can see her, bless her, the cogs turning every time. Yeah, she's clearly been
She's only about 5.
Yeah, she's clearly quite good at taking direction, put it that way. Yeah, she's got way more going on than the boy. But, I don't know, you can just see her processing as she opens her mouth. Because, she just stands there like this, like the whole time. And then it's like, action. Whatever. And then maybe we could go up the mountain, Wicket. And then, so that's a problem. The Ewoks are just used basically as slapstick. Let's just have a shot of I don't know, one of them falling over. Let's have one of them bouncing on a branch. They're not the bloodthirsty, flesh-eating
I don't think they're portrayed as bloodthirsty, flesh-eating monsters at all in these
No, they're
films.
not. But that's why they worked in Return of the Jedi.
But again,
it's aimed at kids. I know.
Yes,
Look,
as like an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old watching that film, or a 7-year-old, you don't care. You don't care that there's a donkey in it or a goat.
Well, I
Okay,
did.
you would have cared.
But it did slightly bother me in Empire Strikes Back that they were clearly on Dagobah. They were clearly Earth lizards and snakes.
Okay, I might have cared. I would have noted it in my head. There's ghosts on that planet. Not ghosts. Sorry, there's goats. I would have said to myself, supposedly there's goats on that planet. Is there? And then I would have gone, who cares? It's fiction.
Took me out of it.
I don't care. I would have gone, who cares? It's fiction.
Look, I know this is a 49-year-old man reviewing a film aimed at 5-year-olds.
Let's just enjoy it for what it is.
Right, okay, so it's a film aimed at 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
Let's do a sequel, shall we? So, sequel, broadly speaking, a lot better. But you're hoping to carry on the audience, the audience of 5, 6-year-olds?
No, not 5. 5's too young. I would have said, let's say 6 at the very youngest to 12.
Okay, so
6 to 14 even.
That's pushing it. A 14-year-old would have looked at that and gone, the baby film.
6 to 12.
Even 12. Pushing it.
I would have watched
pushing
it at 12.
It for that film.
With my maturity level, I would have
watched
it at 12.
So all those kids who grew up watching Return of the Jedi, who are now a couple of years older, because this came out in 84.
Right.
Like myself, I was 13 when this came out. I would have, which I didn't even bother going. I knew it was out. I didn't care. Yeah. Wow. Because it was clearly aimed at children. Anyway, I would have loved it to have not been, but it clearly was. Could have made some money. Whatever. So, right. So you've inherited these children from the previous film. So the second film, they've in the first film they've battled their way across, this basically Lord of the Rings to get their parents back. They've got their parents back. Big happy ending. Second film, mum, dad, brother all die. Literally.
In the first
5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Well, first 10, 15 minutes.
Okay, whatever. But splitting hairs. Splitting hairs. They die.
Very soon in the blah, 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 blah. Very soon at the start of the film.
They all die. So the little girl.
That was an odd choice. That was an odd creative choice.
So we're back once again and that was George Lucas's idea.
Yeah.
In the story meetings that they
I didn't
had.
even understand that had happened because they didn't really
is
show
got-
the brother
yeah.
die. So I was just
She sees it on her. She's got like a life monitor on her wrist that his light goes out.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah, but you don't really see it.
I-
He's just like even angrier in the one scene he's in. He's
He
like,
was.
oh my god, you thought he was angry
His
before.
anger had stoked even more.
Yeah, my god, it was off the chart. And then he's like, get away, Sindel, get away, get away. And then
I didn't understand that he died.
I had to look
and
up on
actually,
Wikipedia.
we were halfway through the film, and I was convinced that he was going to come in at the end and save Sindel. Well, then you looked it up on Wikipedia and found out actually he's dead. It was like, really? They killed her entire family. I mean, you can't tell from her acting that her entire family had died. Not much grief going on there, or shock.
in children's fiction, right?
Which isn't fair because she is young and, you
wouldn't have
can't
thought
really
that.
expect
from
that
her. From her acting, you wouldn't have known her parents.
It was
It's
like,
oh,
I'm really
I
sad.
really miss my mum.
My parents are dead. My family's dead. I'm a bit sad.
Now, in children's fiction, there is a long history of kids being orphans. It happens. However, when it generally doesn't happen is when you've travelled with those characters in the previous instalment and everything has been, hunky-dory and you've had a happy ending, to then just rip the rug out from under the kids who've enjoyed it by saying, no, now they're dead.
All of them. Not even one of them. All of them. Actually, I have to... Sorry, my inner Gollum is speaking up now and feels guilty for...
Slagging off the girl.
Saying
Can you hear
about
that
her
noise
acting.
outside, by the way, everybody?
Oh, it's loud out there.
They've gone insane.
I feel bad because she was only young and you can't expect a little kid to be an Oscar-winning actress.
No, but you can expect the filmmakers to make better, more informed choices by casting kids that can handle the material that...
Or maybe not killing off their entire family.
Yeah, and then
just have them carried away by the monster or something.
Well, that's what I said. To have them separated.
Which I know
again.
it happened in the first film, so they probably didn't want to repeat
So anyway,
it.
so the parents and brother are dead. Like 5 minutes later, she's having fun with Wicket. Wicket, by the way, who now speaks English.
Yeah, all of a sudden he speaks.
Dingo. I mean, I don't think it's Warwick Davis doing the voice. And she goes and lives with an old man and a funny little monster thing in a cabin in the woods.
Oh yeah, you love that little monster.
This is what I
So
think.
you loved the little monster.
I did. This is what I'm about to say. This is what I'm about to say.
And that part of the film, I thought that was great because it was just like a children's storybook.
That's when it works.
Kind of Easter special.
Yeah, the second one,
come to life.
Battle for Endor, is a much better film. I mean, we admittedly didn't watch it to the end, but as a kids' film, it worked. Apart from the weird choice at the beginning, it works way better as a film. It was, that Teak, I think his name was, that little monster who lives with Wilford Brimley. Noah is the character's name.
Yes.
He was a genuinely great character.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
And it was so expressive.
It was,
for
a great performance. Whoever was in the suit, really, as you say, really expressive performance. But it had that film as a whole felt more of a part with the first Star Wars films because you had spaceships and lasers and other aliens and stuff in there, and it didn't feel like it was trying to be a fairy tale, which Caravan of Courage kind of was.
And yet it did have fairy tale like feel to it when they were in the woods.
But why I think it worked is because it mixed that fairy tale with Star Wars, so it wasn't just Hansel and Gretel meets Tarzan.
Tarzan. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, what we've got? It's gone all over the place. This episode. This was not really how this episode was meant to go at all.
Well, how did you want it to go?
I'll just go talk about the Ewok fad in the 80s.
Well, go on then. Do it now.
We've been talking.
Say it now.
My throat is raw. We've been talking for an hour. There's drilling going on outside.
What Ewok fad? Just that everyone loved Ewoks.
It had lots of stuff to say. Whatever.
Oh, I'm curious.
Go
now.
look it up. Get it off of Wikipedia like I did. No, I got it from some other places too.
Then we'll never know.
No, you never know. So yeah, what I would say is they're curios, and if you've got Disney Plus, they're worth watching. Just to sort of see how they foreshadowed some of Lucas's stranger creative decisions.
And they're good fun. Like, they're good kind of Sunday afternoon TV movie that you can talk through.
Don't watch them back to back, more or less, like we did, or 2 days running, like we did, because I couldn't get through that second one. As much as I could appreciate that it was a better film.
Even the first one, it's like, before we put it on, he's like, we can turn this off if we hate it. It starts playing. I'm enjoying it, and then you're like, we can turn this off anytime, you know, and then, shall we turn this off? And then we ended up watching the whole thing.
Yeah.
Although I did fall asleep in the last half an hour, but that's just what I do on the weekends.
Best bit. There was the big lightsaber fight in the last half hour.
Was there? Oh. I saw the giant spider. I thought that was quite good, as they were walking across this giant spider's web, and there's one big spider that falls down. I'm just giving away all the spoilers.
The spiders are terrible.
And then this giant spider comes along.
At least
again, as a kid who grew up with those kind of TV movies like Sinbad or whatever, with the stop motion animation.
Yeah, I know, but
it fit and it was entertaining.
Sinbad, Ray Harryhausen's stop motion is amazing, right? The design of the creatures in those are amazing. Likewise in the Star Wars films. You know, some of the creature design in these, or at least that first one, was rank.
For the money they had, I think they did a good job.
Well, the second one, again, better. You had the blurgs, which have appeared in Mandalorian in the second one.
Yeah, that was good.
Generally better. But you know, there was some good matte painting, some good stop motion in places. Second one, better film. Much better film. Even with the weird death at the start. Look, my throat is giving out.
Okay.
I have no more to say. If you want some more videos of us rambling like this is the kind of thing we do on Patreon normally.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So maybe go support us on Patreon, because frankly, you know, why should we do this for free? It's not like we enjoy it or anything. Subscribe, like, blow us a kiss. We'll see you soon. She's thrown.